let me get this out straight away, right up. Yes, the Yankees have at least some interest.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. With me, as always, is my producer, Steve Granado. Steve, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Stace. Another Friday here on Locked On Yankees, where we're answering your questions like we do every week. So thanks so much for tuning in. Of course, we're still 5 days a week here in the off season. Stace, we have a whole bunch of questions today we need to get to, ranging from free agent stuff to winter ball to Gerrit Cole to bench coach options and everything in between. We had some different ones here today, non-Yankees related as well. So we need to jump right in, of course, with our Locked On Yankees insiders first. They pay, they play. So if you want priority on Fanmail Fridays, as well as a bunch of other perks, join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. There's a 14-day free trial in the episode description, so go check it out. Our first question, Stacey, is coming from Debbie. Asked us, was listening to David Cohn and his crew, and they referred to either a Korean or Japanese center fielder who is very good, I think named Lee. Have Yankees shown or should they show any interest in him? Thank you, Debbie, for being an insider, one of our OGs, and thank you for your question here today, Stace. Debbie is referring to Jung-Hoo Lee, a KBO outfielder who is slated to be posted here and be one of the main attractions from the international side of things here this offseason. Obviously, we've talked to death about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He is clearly the number one target coming from the Nippon League, but not too far behind him is Jung-Hoo Lee. So let me get this out straight away, right up. Yes, the Yankees have at least some interest. Now, it should be noted that it's not the same interest they have expressed in Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So do not confuse the two big international sides. It's not the same. Everything we have seen, I'm taking this from The Athletic and some other sources as well, the Yankees have scouted him. Take that with a grain of salt. They scout a lot of people. They got scouts all over the place, all over the world that's constantly doing stuff like that. So it doesn't mean the Yankees are signing him right here and there. Jung-Hoo Lee is a left-handed outfielder. Sounds good. But of course, anytime you're talking about international prospects and when you're coming from the Asian market, KBO is not the same as Nippon. Straight up. It is just not the same caliber of play. So take that with a grain of salt as well. When you're pulling a player that is not from the Nippon League, it comes with some caveats. The pitching over there in the KBO is not the same as the Nippon, and of course is not the same as the United States or other parts of the world. So there's that. But the other side of this is Jung-Hoo Lee was teammates with Ha-Seong Kim, which, of course, Ha-Seong Kim has certainly worked out pretty darn good down there in San Diego. So there is some obviously better history recently about that, which portrays a little bit of upside there, potentially. Jung-Hoo Lee is not exactly the exact guy they're really looking for. He doesn't profile on the power side of things that they would probably like. He's more of a bad ball kind of contact spray hitter as opposed to a power pull hitter. So there's that. But yes, they're at least garnering some interest to what I have read. But it's not like he is a for sure 100%. The Yankees are all in. It seems more Yamamoto. If you're looking on the international market, that seems to be where the Yankees are leaning a little bit more towards, and then going locally to get the left-handed local talent in the outfield. So that's what we know so far. He's obviously good. He's a very good hitter out there in the KBO, but it's always a question when they come from the KBO whether it's going to translate. So there's that. Thank you, Debbie, for your question. Stacey, we have more coming here from our Locked On Yankees insiders. This one's coming from another Trad and Chew, another OG. Betty asking us, pretend that the Yankees did deals today and got Yamamoto and Hader. Now, who should they pursue for the outfielder? For the outfield, not Bellinger unless a 5-year deal. Stacey, I'll let you take the lead here on this one. Let's dream up a scenario where the Yankees shore up the rotation and shore up the back end of the pen. Who should they go for in the outfield if not Belly?
I'm thinking Kiermaier because I feel like the Yamamoto and Hader deals will be pretty big, maybe not length, but money. And they could get Kiermaier for a couple of years and it wouldn't be, because we spoke about it on yesterday's show. Bellinger's going to get a big deal. And if they get those two, they can't get, and he's not going to take a 5-year deal. So I would say Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. It feels like Kiermaier is a good little stopgap. Obviously, you know what he brings defensively. He's pretty consistent offensively as well. You add some of that average back that the Yankees were clearly lacking in 23 and have been lacking here for about a year and a half. So that helps that front. It helps the center field front. You can probably get Kiermaier on a pretty short deal if you're really banking on Jason Dominguez here in about a year and a half to 2 years. That's more realistic if you're looking more in the short term. So I agree with you right there. Thank you, Betty, for your question. Our last one here in this segment, Stace, I feel like this could be a bit of a fun one today. This is coming from one of our Locked On Yankees insiders, Kyle, asking us, if you could choose only one Yankee to sit down and have a meal with, who would it be? Why? Who could be a current or a past Yankee? Stace, I want you to take the lead here on this one. Tell me who you would take a chance to sit down and chat with.
It would be Don Mattingly because he was my third favorite player, but the longest favorite player. And he really got me into going to Yankee games. And I would just sit there and, tell him stories about me seeing him in the 80s and joking about how when I had my season tickets and he'd show up for Old Timers Day, how the guys sitting behind me would be like, oh God, here we go. Stacey's going to go nuts because they're going to introduce Mattingly. Like every time he showed up, they knew, they got ready because I was like, woo, screaming and everything. But I think it'd be fun to talk to him about everything.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, there are worse choices. It's a good choice. I'm with you on that one. For me, I've talked about this briefly on the show here, but I think a conversation and a steak with Jim Abbott would be pretty darn cool, man. I can't see that not going well.
Mhm.
I can't see that not being one of the coolest experiences you could possibly have. You could always answer the Ruths and the Gehrigs, and obviously you can go that route if you wanted to do that. But for my money, I've always been fascinated by Jim Abbott. Even though I didn't grow up watching him, he's a little out of my range. But just everything I know about him is just so fascinating. And I feel like I could just sit there, ask him a question, and then just let him just keep talking. Just keep telling me stories, man. I just want bedtime stories as I'm eating my soup and my salad, like that's the move. Thank you, Kyle, for your question. We actually have a little bit more time, so let's get to one more here in this segment. This one's coming from Ruben, our last one from the Locked On Yankees insiders, asking us, are there any Yankees playing winter ball? If so, how are they doing? I think Oswaldo Cabrera is one of them. Yes, Ruben. Oswaldo Cabrera has been playing with the Tiburones down in Venezuela. As of this recording, they are actually playing right now, but Oswaldo did not start that game. So these stats should be ironclad by the time you're listening to this when it comes out. He's played 14 games so far. He's primarily been playing shortstop. He's been one of the main shortstops for the Tiburones, which is Spanish for sharks. He's playing all right. Slash line 241, 317, 296. The power has not been there, which has been a bit of a problem for him this past season. And now here into the winter set, obviously it's only a couple of weeks, so don't take this as Bible just yet. Has only 2 extra base hits so far, a double and a triple. But he's playing down there with his brother right now, and it seems like he's having a good time, having fun, and you want to see that. You want to see him have fun playing the game because obviously that's a big part of Oswaldo Cabrera's game. So you want to make sure he's comfortable, loose, and having a good time, which by all accounts, it seems like he is from his Instagram posts and things like that. So yeah, good for him. That's the only one I am aware of. I was watching a little bit Dominican ball before we were taping today's episode. I was watching a little bit, got into a rain delay. There was also a no-hitter in the Dominican Winter League recently here just a couple of days ago that actually had Neftali Feliz in it.
Oh, wow.
Throwing that out there. Yeah. But yeah, so things going well so far-ish. Obviously not tearing the cover off the ball for Oswaldo Cabrera. You're hoping to see some of those powers numbers start to climb a little bit here. And don't take too much stock into him playing short or anything like that. Don't start getting freaked out like, what about Volpe? What about Volpe? That's just kind of more of his natural position. And then, of course, he can play other positions as we have seen in the majors so far. So he is not, if you're looking at the trio of Cabrera, Peraza, and Volpe, he's not the best of those three at short, which is why he has not really played short. He's more a backup shortstop in the majors. There are a lot of teams that would take Oswaldo Cabrera at short, though. I'll throw that out there. But yeah, good to see him getting some playing time. Again, did not play on Thursday night, but we're keeping an eye. And of course, Locked On Yankees Insiders will continue to keep you updated with that kind of stuff. Thanks so much for your questions. For you guys here today, we have our YouTubers. More questions from them when we come back. Hey, everydayers out there know how we handle the show, but today I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. All right. We just learned here on Locked On Yankees that you can get a 1-year supply of ED meds through Jace Medical. That means you can breathe them on extended travel, and you'll be ready for the next supply chain issue or a natural disaster causing shortages. You are covered. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your prescription for Cialis, Viagra, or Vatio, and this is all possible because of our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now, jacemedical.com, to receive a 12-month supply of your daily medication. Remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. Want you to listen to this customer review. I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. Of course, it's not just what we talked about. I also have those antibiotics, which are super, super clutch. If you or someone that you love would like to get some peace of mind by having your supply of any daily med, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. And remember, while you're there, use that promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Back here on Locked On Yankees. Hey, everydayers out there. Of course, we got a couple more questions coming your way here today, but just a reminder, next week, MLB awards are coming out. Yes, we saw Silver Sluggers, and yes, Aaron Judge, Gleyber Torres did not win Silver Sluggers at their positions. We let Locked On Yankees Insiders know that as soon as the awards came out. But next week, the awards coming out, which means next week, Gerrit Cole's winning Cy Young. So make sure to hang out with us and let us know how you're feeling about Gerrit Cole's 2023 in the comments section here today, because we're going to be doing a whole episode when he wins that Cy Young next week. Hit subscribe and you won't miss it. All right, Stacey, back to our questions. Now we check in on our YouTube community. You can always reply to our comment pinned in the comment section Monday through Thursday. Of course, not Friday. That's when the episode comes out. So it's always below, just not on this episode. All right, this one's coming from Mr. Mallory 94. Super simple question, Stace. Where does Loiasiga fit in the bullpen?
Is it super simple?
Well, the question is simple. The answer maybe not so much. I think it starts here before. I want you to take the lead here on this one, but it starts with, remember that Jonathan Loaisiga does need to go through arbitration. So let me just go ahead and say that. It's not a guarantee that he's a part of the bullpen next season. I don't see why he wouldn't be, but he still has to go through that process.
Yeah. When he's healthy, because he's another one of those guys that the caveat is when he's healthy and he's pitching the way he's supposed to, he's really great. At one point before they got Clay Holmes, there were people who were clamoring for him to take over for Chapman. I may have been one of them. Because when he's healthy, he's a really good relief pitcher. And, he has a role in the bullpen, but I think it really depends on who they get and where they want to shuffle everyone else. Because he's definitely a guy that needs to be like, he wouldn't be like a long man. He'd have to be like a 7-inning or maybe even an 8th when someone else can't pitch or someone else pitched the day before, because I feel like you never have enough pitching. And I feel like he's one of those people that could really help the bullpen again, if he's healthy. And I think the Yankees know that. So I'm hoping that everything goes okay for him this winter, because I like watching him pitch when he's healthy. He's fun. And he's, surprisingly Good. Sometimes when you see him, like, you're just like, oh, wow, okay, cool. Loiasiga, like, mowing people down. So, yeah, I just hope things go okay for him and that the Yankees realize that it's better to have him in the bullpen than not.
I think if the Yankees were playing tomorrow, Jonathan Loaisiga is your 8th guy.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
probably where he's at. That's where I have it, taking over Wandy. He's a righty,
Yeah.
obviously, so
Right.
it kind of fills the Wandy spot.
Hmm.
Uh, I feel like they'll do something. They have to do something left-handed wise. They can't go into spring training without a left-handed reliever.
No.
It's just, you just can't. You can't do that.
No.
So they'll do something. Thank you, Mr. Mallory, for your question. All right, this next one's coming from someone who's been checking in a lot recently. At Vincent M. Durham, 1695. Stacey, we're going to step away from the Yankees just a hair here. What are your thoughts on MLB expansion, and what cities would you all like to see get a team? Keep up the great work, Stacey and Steve. Thank you, Vincent. Stacey. So when you're talking about expansion, you got to talk 2 teams, right? Because otherwise you can't have an odd number of teams in Major League Baseball because everybody's playing every day. You got to have the same number of teams, an even number of teams. So Stacey, why don't you give me your top 2 cities to get an MLB expansion team? I'm in favor of it. Let me just go ahead and say that. I'm
Yeah.
always in favor of expanding the game. Obviously, they need to kind of figure out Oakland situation and Tampa Bay situation. But as far as expansion is concerned, where are you leaning?
I am thinking Nashville because I feel like there aren't enough teams in that part of the country. And I feel like people would really be receptive to a baseball team in Nashville. It could be really fun. They could have fun naming the team too, because, doing like music stuff or whatever else they could think of. And I know it would probably be, Seattle would probably have a problem with it, but Portland.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I'd
think
probably be
Portland
like,
would be a good one.
hey. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the same market share a little bit
Yeah.
there. Good answers. Good answer. Mine, I think I may have talked about this on the show. I don't know. I talk about a lot of things on the show. I also talk about a lot of things outside the show. I talk. I'm a human. My number 1 pick is I want a team in Mexico. I think a team in northern Mexico, somewhere in Sonora or Chihuahua, would be sweet. I think in that side of things, that would be the most simple as far as travel is concerned. You throw them in the AL or the NL West. It wouldn't be too much extra of travel for teams like the Rangers or the Astros. It wouldn't be too far for San Diego. It wouldn't be too far for LA. So I think that fits in pretty nicely. Again, you have to kind of be in the north side of Mexico, like Chihuahua or Sonora. You maybe could go to Hermosillo. That's a little bit further south. But I think you would name it kind of either if you're planning on just leaving that as one Mexico team, you think it as the Mexico whatever as the team name, or you go to the state name like the Chihuahua whatever or the Sonora whatever. I don't think you go city specific there because you're trying to reach a broader audience. And then if you're going stateside, I have no idea how this has not happened with the amount of history in this state. How does North Carolina not have a baseball team? A Major League Baseball team? That has never made any sense to me. There is so much insane, deep-rooted history of baseball in that state, and for them to not have a major league team makes no sense to me. None whatsoever. I know there's the Charlotte Knights, that's AAA for the White Sox, and there's obviously the Carolina League, which is massive, one of the bigger leagues, and one of the more well-touted leagues historically throughout minor league history. But man, get these guys a major league club. Come on.
Where would you put it?
That's a great question. I mean, Durham makes the most sense because of the history there. But there's also, you don't really want to take Durham. You don't want to take that. You don't want to take the Bulls away.
Yeah, you don't want to take. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would make the most sense in that way. But it's the history of it. You're like, man, but the Bulls are like, do you want the Bulls to be a major league club now? Now they need a new ballpark, and Charlotte probably makes the most sense because there's already established professional sports there. So
yeah,
that's mine.
And it's it's not a huge city, but it's big enough. They have the bigger airport there and everything, because I transferred to Charlotte so many times going to Wilmington. So
yeah, travel's fairly easy.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be what, AL East?
I would think so.
Probably AL East. You can also squeeze them into the Central if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
But it would make sense for Braves to go there, Phillies to go there. It's not too far. Yeah. Those are mine. What are yours? Let us know in the comment section. Stacey's got theirs. I got mine. I want to know what teams you would want to see. What cities would you pick to get an expansion team in Major League Baseball? All right. We're going to step aside one more time. We're going to get back into Yankee stuff when we come back. Back now here on Locked On Yankees. Stacey, a couple more questions we wanted to get to here today. This first one, I don't think I've seen this name pop up before. Pardon me if we've done it before, but I don't think so. I think this is a new one. This is coming from at Linda Hewlett 898. Gerrit Cole, his contract. I'm sure he is a little frustrated not having a ring. Do you think we will lose him if Trashman, your words not mine, doesn't wake up? Stacey, where are you getting at Gerrit Cole wise? Obviously, he has the opt-out after this upcoming season. The Yankees can void it by adding a 10th year to that contract, which is strange, but can happen. But where do you think Gerrit Cole is at?
I feel like we have to wait and see. I feel like we have to wait for 2024 to happen because I don't feel like he's at that point yet. I feel like he's still having fun with the team. He has teammates he likes. He doesn't seem to be like, you don't see any frustration on him, other than general frustration because of how the team performed, but they all had that this season, So I feel like we need to wait for this season to happen before we can even think about anything.
I'm not too far away from you right there. I think Gerrit Cole is a guy that plays it pretty close to the chest. Right. He doesn't really let on how he's feeling about things like that. I mean, even when he hit free agency, right before he hit free agency and we found out he was going to be hitting free agency because of it, that was like the first time he had really expressed anything like that as a major leaguer, especially on the business side. He had never really been that guy until that moment after he lost the World Series. So, and he's kind of gotten that's probably about as far as he's gone in that side of the game. So it's kind of hard to get a read on Gerrit Cole. I don't think opting out is some outlandish, crazy idea.
Right.
I think it's super possible, even regardless of how 2024 goes. I'd be more inclined to the side of what happens if he does, and then the Yankees say no 10th year.
Yeah,
that just seems like mayhem to me.
Mm-hmm.
If that were to happen. But as far as Cole opting out, I wouldn't be like the most shocked human on the planet if I saw it happen, especially if 24 is like 23. Because, one of the main reasons he came to the Yankees in the first place is because he was a fan growing up, right? And he's gotten the experience now.
Yeah.
So it's not like this, like it's kind of like, all right, cross it off the list. What do I want to do for the rest of my career now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's leaning in that way. I really don't. I'm more on your side. I feel like he's just going to stay. But again, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, what? This completely came out of nowhere. This is insane. I have no idea what's happening. Yeah, I'd be like, well, he had the opt-out, man. That's what it was there for.
Yep.
So we'll see. Obviously, I'm right there with you. 24, big year for that, obviously, clearly, because he has to make a decision. Thank you, Linda, for your question. This one's coming from Robbie Garn 7732. Hal and Cashman's pressers were both disappointing, but for different reasons. Hal was milquetoast, while Cash was unhinged. To what do you attribute the extreme polarity between the owner and the GM? Do you think Cashman went rogue, or is this classic case of good cop, bad cop? Stacey, your thoughts on this? Because they were very, very different the other day.
Well, I know that like norovirus was going around the GM meetings, and maybe Cashman was sick and just annoyed because
he was in physical pain. Well, he stood out there for like over an hour, so.
Yeah, so maybe not, but maybe that's why he was outside, because he didn't want to be stuck inside with all those sick people.
Yeah.
On a serious note, though, I hope everyone feels better, because like 10% of the people who were at the GM meetings got sick, and that is not fun.
They got canceled.
Yeah. I don't know, because we joked about it on the show the other day, where it felt like Hal had won, like he went into his meeting with like knowing how he was going to do it, and then Cashman was just like the complete opposite, and it feels like they didn't even speak to each other. Like, oh, what are you going to say? Oh, well, this is, I'm going to say this, so you could say this. Like, no, it was completely like, I don't know. I don't know if it's good cop, bad cop. I don't know if I don't think Cashman went rogue. I mean, Cashman has been like that
always
for a while.
rogue.
Yeah, well, yeah. Um, I still think it's just really weird. I think the whole thing was weird. They didn't need to do it, and it was just embarrassing on so many levels for both of them. Because again, like we said, Hal didn't really say anything. Cashman almost said too much and was too combative, and just it didn't come across well at all. Neither one of them, for different reasons, they didn't come off well.
Can I say something here? I'm
Y-
curious. I'm curious if this is a good or a bad for Yankees fans. So
Hmm.
you guys, everydayers know, but like if you don't, if you're new here, hi. I've only been following the Yankees closely for 2 years,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't grow up a Yankees fan. I didn't grow up going to Yankee Stadium. I'm from New York. I live here in California. If you don't know that, like I only know the Yankees as a fan of other teams and going like those darn Yankees until now when I have been, in the system last year and then now this year on this show. So I come at from a newer perspective, which might be a welcome sight, might not. Everything I've seen from Cashman has been like that.
Right.
Obviously, that was to the nth degree. That
Yeah.
was some of the worst. But I wasn't around when things were good, right?
Mm.
Like, yes, last season, 2022, obviously everyone judge. But like I haven't seen the dynasty years up close, right? I haven't seen all of that. So the only experience I have with Cashman is that over and over and over again, which might be a fresher, interesting perspective because I don't have anything to compare it to. I mean, if you're not a fan of the team, like I'm not following the Atlanta Braves GM. Like, come
No.
on, man. I'm not following the Miami Marlins that closely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's been very, very strange because you don't see GMs act like that. You just
No.
don't ever anywhere. You barely know other teams' GMs. Even if you're a fan of the team, you barely know the GM, right?
Yeah.
Until recently, I feel like GMs have kind of had to come out to the forefront to speak recently more. But that hasn't, I don't know, that feels like newer. And if it isn't newer on the Yankee land, say what you will about how he handles the job. That side of it, he's not doing a good job of it.
Mm-mm.
It's not good PR at all.
It's not. And Jason Zillo was standing with him. Like, I'm surprised, Jason Zillo is the PR guy, and he's been the PR guy for decades at this point. And I was watching him, and he was just standing there, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder what he's thinking right now about all this.
Yeah, he's
Because,
like, dude,
yeah,
stop.
yeah, like,
Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question, Robbie. I'm on the side of he is rogue. That's my side. This last one today, Stace, this is coming from one of our regulars now. Booyah Get Yanks asking us on the YouTube side, what are your thoughts? What do you think the Yankees will get a good hitting coach and a bench coach? Do you think they will make any changes at all? Great show to you both. Best Yankee show on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Stace, obviously this question was asked before the hitting coach news. Gene Rowson appears to be the new hitting coach coming soon. That is still not dotted line signed just yet. But I also have been seeing rumblings that maybe Luis Rojas will just move into the bench coach role. That could be simple, easy.
yeah.
You wouldn't have too many changes, easy personnel change. Like, it's not that crazy.
Mhm.
So I that feels like a fairly likely scenario. Just moving him into the bench role and also continue to coach third base because we've seen plenty of guys do that as well.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, do people really care about bench coaches? No offense. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's warranted. That's fair. I think that's fair. Like, it's not like a manager, obviously. It's
right.
not like a hitting coach or a pitching coach.
Yeah. Because I don't even know who's really out there that the Yankees could get. I feel like you would elevate someone who's already there, or maybe have them do dual duty, like you said. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't want to do too much turnover.
Yeah, because otherwise then you're just change the whole thing. Because that's
Yeah.
clearly they didn't want to change the whole thing. So you want to have
'Cause
some of
right.
that familiarity there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like if they wanted to really, like, overhaul everything, they just would have gotten rid of everyone,
Just
including Boone.
just start over. Yeah,
Yeah.
just start over. Yeah, I think there's going to be enough changeover with 3 hitting coaches in a year's span, let alone 4 in the last 3 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's going to be enough turnover there, especially if they don't end up keeping the 2 assistant hitting coaches. If they end up going a different direction there too, there could be plenty of turnover there already. So I don't know. to be frank, I don't lean in any direction either. Interview guys if you want to interview him. Luis Rojas be a part of it. If he doesn't end up getting it, then he doesn't end up getting it. They bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
It could make a decent amount of difference, but in all likelihood, you're not going to see a massive change there. So
Right.
Thank you for your question. Thank you all for your questions. Of course, Stacey, that's it for this week of Locked On Yankees. But what do we have coming up next week?
Awards. We're going to see Gerrit Cole win the Cy Young, and we're going to talk about it when it happens. And I can't wait. I even have my ring light has a special color setting that we're going to do, like a disco color thing, because we have to. We're going to be celebrating Gerrit Cole. It's going to be great.
Pop off. It's going to be the only time we get to celebrate all year.
Yeah.
So we will. So come join the party, I guess, next week. Of course, we're still every day here on Locked On Yankees. And that's going to do it for another week of Locked On Yankees. I'm Steve Granado.
And I'm Stacey Gotsulias. We will see you on Monday.